Hi there, my name is MC Oda, and today we're going to take a look at the redstone circuits inside the jungle pyramid. This video is a bit of a companion piece to the one that I made recently, where we explored the redstone circuits buried deep within the ancient city. Now, in that episode, we explored the archaeology aspects of things, because that one was directly tied to Daskalos' archaeology series. In this video, we're not going to take that angle. We're just going to take a look at the redstone. Because, like I said in the last video, I'm not an archaeologist. But I really do like the idea of exploring the redstone circuits that appear naturally in the world of Minecraft. And there really aren't very many of them. The ones in the ancient city are much newer, but originally there was this one behind me, the jungle pyramid. Now, technically, the one in the desert temple is also a redstone circuit, but it's just a single pressure plate with a block underneath it and some TNT. Nothing really worth exploring. Now, the ones here in the pyramid aren't terribly complex, but they are still interesting and cool, and definitely worth taking a look at. So let's waste no time and go take a look at the redstone in the jungle pyramid. Now, just like the ancient city, it is really dark down here, and I don't feel like messing with torches and stuff. So to make this episode a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and give myself night vision. And that is much better. Okay, so already we're staring at the first circuit, and that is a puzzle right here. So this mechanism is actually a puzzle where if you hit the levers in a certain order, you can gain access to a treasure room that's behind this wall without having to break into the wall. It's a pretty cool circuit, but we'll take a look at that one in a minute. There are two more circuits in this pyramid, and those are arrow traps that are triggered by tripwires, right here. So this is two pieces of string crossing the path here connected to two tripwire hooks. And we can see at the end of the hall that there is a dispenser hiding behind some vines. These are both components of the same circuit comprising a trap. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Okay, you can see a little bit of redstone coming up to the block over here, but a lot of the redstone is actually hidden behind this wall. So we're going to have to remove a few blocks to actually take a good close look at this. But before I start tearing things up, let me go ahead and demonstrate the trap. It's pretty simple. You're down here exploring, it's dark, you can't really see what's going on, and when you hit this tripwire, you get shot by an arrow. And if I wasn't in creative mode, that would have stuck right in my forehead. So now that we know what the trap does, let's see how it works. Again, I'm going to have to remove some of these blocks to expose the redstone so that we can really see it properly. There we go. That should be just about enough. I'm just going to remove these just to give myself some space to see things. There we go. Okay, as I showed earlier, there's a string crossing the hallway here, and it is connected to a tripwire hook on both sides of the hallway. When tripwire hooks are connected this way by string, they become a redstone component that has the ability to power blocks. In this case, whenever this string is tripped, both of these hooks will power the block that they're connected to. This one will power this block, and this one will power that block. I already know that that block is not connected to anything. It's just an anchor for the end of the circuit. This is the block that's doing all the heavy lifting. And we can tell by the redstone line leading out from behind it. So when I say that this is going to power this block, what does that mean? Any solid opaque block in Minecraft can be powered, and it can be powered in two different ways. Weakly powered or strongly powered. Let's talk about the difference between those two real quick. I'm going to run outside to demonstrate this. Let's see. Alright, this looks like a good spot. So let's talk about powering a block, and we'll talk about weakly and strongly powered. So let me set up a little test circuit here. We're going to have a power source, a couple pieces of redstone dust. We're going to have a solid opaque block, and we're going to have a redstone component touching that block. Okay, and then we're also just going to run some redstone off the back of it with another redstone component. Okay, so let's take a look at this small circuit that I just made. This torch is acting as a power source, and that is sending redstone power at a strength of 15 into this redstone dust. As redstone power travels through dust, it gets weaker as it goes, with this one being 13 power. But the actual power levels don't matter for this circuit, so we can safely ignore those for now. The important thing though is if we have powered redstone dust running into a solid opaque block, that block becomes powered. And what that means is that it can activate redstone components that are adjacent to it. In this case, the redstone lamp above it is on. Now in this circuit, this block is being weakly powered, And what that means is, even though this block is powered, it's only strong enough to activate blocks next to it. It cannot actually transfer power any further. So when we come around the back side, you see that the redstone dust that is coming out of the other side of this block is not powered. For that to happen, this block has to be strongly powered. To make this block strongly powered, we actually have to send the power into it using either a repeater or a comparator. So when we have, in this case, a comparator going into this block, you can see that it is still activating the lamp above it, so we know that it's being powered. But now you can see that it's also transferring a redstone signal out of the redstone that's attached to it. And that redstone signal is activating this component. So that is the difference between strongly and weakly powered. Okay, so now we know the difference between weakly powered and strongly powered. So let's go see what that tripwire hook is doing. Okay, so we can see here that the block that the tripwire hook is attached to has redstone running out of it down this way to the dispenser. And from what we just learned, that means for this to work, that this tripwire hook must strongly power this block. And now I'm going to remove these blocks here just so you can see this redstone light up. So whenever we trigger this trap, that redstone is lit up, which means this block is being strongly powered by this tripwire hook. And that arrow was a close call, wasn't it? Alright, so now that we know how this redstone is being powered, let's see what it's doing. So this redstone power is running down here, and it is going to these blocks. Let's get rid of some of these vines so we can see what's happening. This redstone is coming here and is turning into this block. So this redstone will power this block. However, that block is only going to be weakly powered. But for this trap, that's enough, because the only thing this needs to do is activate this redstone component that's adjacent to it. So when this redstone line weakly powers this block will activate this component, causing an arrow to fly out at us. So yeah, pretty simple trap. Pretty simple, pretty cool. You step over that wire there, and the dispenser at the end of the hallway gets activated, potentially giving you a really bad day. Now there is another one of these circuits right here in front of this chest, hoping that you will get excited seeing the chest and run over this string right here, making that dispenser shoot yet another arrow at you. So let's again clear out all the blocks and take a look at how this is set up. And there we go. It's the same setup. You have the string is anchored on both ends by tripwire hooks. This tripwire hook is going to strongly power this block that's attached to. That signal is going to go through this redstone, and then in this case, it's actually going directly into the dispenser. So on that one, it weakly powered the block below the dispenser, activating the dispenser. In this case, when the dispenser is powered by the redstone, it activates all on its own. Okay, so yeah, so this is really, really simple, but you gotta think, this was the first time a redstone component showed up in Minecraft. Pretty darn cool if you ask me. Okay, so now let's go take a look at that other circuit. Oh, but wait, I want to see what treasure we got. Could be better. Okay, now this is the start of the other circuit. So the first thing I want to do is show you what it does, and then we can go ahead and open it up and see how it works. So if you want to learn how to solve this puzzle and get in the correct way, then that's what I'm about to show you. So this pyramid can be mirrored, and this can be either on the right side when you come in, or it can be on the left side. But the puzzle works the same way. The first thing you need to do is go to the lever that is closest to the wall and flip it one time, powering it. And you can see that it's powered because that little bit of redstone dust is flickering. Then the next thing you need to do is come to the lever that is closest to the stairwell, and you need to flick it once to power it, and then another time to turn it off. Then you need to come back to the one that's by the wall and turn it back off. That's it. Puzzle is solved. So let's go see what it did. Up at the top here, you're going to notice there is now a hole in this floor that leads you right down into this treasure room. And let's see what we got here. Oh, even worse than the other one. Fair enough. Okay, so right now we're kind of looking at the inner workings of this trap. So let's go ahead and go back to the outside and open this up and see how it actually works. Okay, that should be enough to see what's going on. I'm going to remove these two just so we can see through it. Now, one thing about this trap is that you actually can't reset it properly. So I'm going to manually reset it so we can look at it from the beginning. And what I mean by that is there's no way to get this block back up here and get this piston back in its starting position. And by the end of this explanation, you'll know why. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on here. First of all, we have these 3 levers. And these levers are power sources, just like the tripwire hooks were. And these levers, whenever they are turned on, will strongly power the block that it's connected to. So let's see what they're actually attached to. We can see that this middle one isn't attached to anything. There is no redstone component that's adjacent to it to be activated, and there's no redstone coming out of it to be powered. So this middle switch is actually just a dummy that's not doing anything. It's just there to make the puzzle seem more complex. So that middle lever can be completely ignored. So now let's take a look at these other ones. The one closest to the stairwell here has 2 pieces of redstone dust leading out of it, but they go to nowhere. They're not attached to anything. But what we know by this setup is that whenever this lever is turned on, this block will become strongly powered and this redstone dust will become powered as well. And we'll demonstrate that by turning it on. So that's what's happening. But as far as the circuit is concerned, it's not doing anything yet. So let's go ahead and turn that off. Okay, so now let's take a look at the lever against the wall. What is it doing? And yes, I do realize I'm switching between lever and lever. I'm not actually sure why. I guess I just use both words naturally. And it's just random which one comes out. So just don't give me any grief over that, please. Okay, so in all seriousness now what's going on here? So when this lever is turned on, it is strongly powering this block, which means that that block will transmit power to this redstone repeater. And as we talked about before, power from a redstone repeater going into a solid block will strongly power that block. That means this block can do 2 things. It can activate redstone components that are right next to it, and it can power redstone that's attached to it. So when this block becomes strongly powered, this redstone dust will also become powered. And this redstone dust is attached to a redstone component, which means it's going to activate this piston. And now you can't see it right now, but we're going to temporarily move this one out of the way. There's actually another sticky piston behind this block. So what that means is whenever this switch is turned on, this block will become powered, this will become powered, this block will become powered, activating this piston, powering this redstone, and activating this piston. So both of these pistons will become activated and extend. So now let me put this piston back in place and you'll see why it's doing that. There we go. So again, the first step of solving this puzzle is turning this switch by the wall on. So let's go ahead and turn that on and see what happens. Both of these pistons extended, pushing this piston out here. Now this piston is now attached to this redstone, which means whenever we turn this switch on, this redstone is going to activate this piston, extending it. So step 1 of the solution is turn on the lever by the wall to extend those back pistons, and then turn on this lever by the stairs to activate this piston. And all of these are sticky pistons, which means this piston is now stuck to the block that's above it, which is this floor block right here. So when we do step 3 of the puzzle and we turn off this switch, that is going to remove power from this piston, and this piston will retract. Which it does, and because it's a sticky piston, it pulled that block down with it. So now when we come up here, you can see that this block has been pulled down into the floor. But it's still in our way. We can't get in the room. So now when we do the final step of turning this lever off, what's going to happen is this sticky piston is going to pull this piston back, and this sticky piston is going to pull this block back. And we're going to see that happen right there. That's it. And now everything is out of the way and you can jump down into the room. This is a very clever puzzle. I really, really like this. And when you know how the circuit works, solving the puzzle becomes that much easier. Now, I did mention before that you cannot actually reset this trap fully, and I'll show you why. To reset this trap, you would need to get this block back up here in the floor and get this piston pulled back into its original position. So if we extend those back pistons again and put this into place, and then we extend this piston again, now this floor block is in place. All right, so you're probably thinking, well, this is easy. We just turn that lever by the wall off. When these pistons retract, it'll pull this one along with it. And then once that piston is no longer powered, it will retract as well, and we'll be all reset. And logically, that sounds like it will work. However, a sticky piston cannot pull back an extended piston. So let's see what happens when we turn that back lever off. They retract, but they do not take this piston with it. So this piston remains here, and it remains active. And again, if we try to reset the trap by turning this off, because it's a sticky piston, it's going to pull that block down with it. So again, there is no way to actually reset this trap with this block up here against the floor and this piston back in its starting position. The best you can do is have this one powered so at least the floor looks solid again. Okay, well, I think that's it. There's really not much else to say about these circuits. Again, they're not very complex, but they were the first redstone signals introduced naturally in the game of Minecraft. And they introduced players to some pretty important redstone concepts like weakly and strongly powering blocks and activating redstone components. And like I said earlier, when you understand how this circuit works, it makes solving this puzzle something you just know how to do and you don't have to memorize it or break through the walls. You just know I have to extend those back pistons, and then I have to reach this piston up to grab the floor block, pull it back down, and then retract both of them back. And that's all you need to do to solve this puzzle. Well, I hope you enjoyed this exploration of the redstone circuits within the Jungle Temple. I do have plans to return to the ancient city in my next video because I discovered there are 3 different redstone labs and they contain different circuits. So keep your eye out for that one coming soon, where we're going to explore the differences between those 3 different circuits. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by and taking some time out of your day to spend it here with me. If you've made it this far, I would absolutely love to hear what you thought about the video. Whether you loved it or hated it, please drop me a comment and let me know. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.